We write the script and we try to get it as far as we can to where we feel like it's pretty tight and ready to go. But we also always know that we're going to do a lot of ad-lib stuff, that the actors that we have will bring a lot to it.
And then, through your big city know-how and my small town wisdom, we solve the case together and just sort of become best friends. And there's a dog too, you know.
Bobby Ellerby, who plays the sheriff, when he's laughing at something, when something strikes him in the script as funny.
Did you ever see a bulldog eating mayonnaise?
Those are always great moments that you can't really write. You just have to let Bobby get in there and deliver those.
You remember when he said that?
Yeah.
I hope he didn't, though. That'd be domestic violence and all.
Daniel McDivitt plays the voice of Rusty. He's a friend of ours from childhood, actually, because we could never find a voiceover actor in L.A. that could do a credible Southern accent.
Class, boy.
Yeah, I think
Come on. Say it again, boy. I'm begging you. Come on.
Granny is Dana Snyder. We've worked with Dana on Aqua Teen as the voice of Shake, and he was the funniest in the audition and the most credible of doing a 172-year-old daughter of the American Revolution.
Tonight with all that funny talking he does.
Dana's actually a theater major and a trained acting professional. So he, as always, brings a lot of improv to the table.
Early is played by unknown Henson, Stuart Daniel Baker. He's wildly talented. He's giving us a little bit of the unknown Henson flavor, but he spins it a little bit for Early. He'll come up with some of the strange words and phrasings in the show.
Brother Bubba's got some contradictory viewery about geopolitical Franks.
Mary Kraft plays Crystal.
Am I looking at the right thing?
This shut-in, like bigger than both of the world's fattest twins put together with their little motorcycles. And you'd love for someone to project some depth to their voice. And you didn't initially think of Mary, but she just had this crazy firing on one cylinder voice that seemed to work perfectly when we lined it up with the lip flap of Crystal.
Let's get one of them sport radio things with the earbuds and the auto reverse.
Ben's from the South. I think he understands that and appreciates it on a pretty deep level.
We wanted to do sort of a folk art style for the backgrounds. We tried a couple of different artists, and Ben's stuff just seemed to work for what we were looking for.
I've been to bait shops in rural areas, and they're not fancy places. I think I'd probably put some trophy fish on the walls back here. This particular one I think will be made of wood. I like funny words, so I think bobbers, those little plastic red and white balls, are certainly a vivid memory of mine growing up. This sketch is just really meant to be sort of a very rough sort of idea of layout and detail, so that Jim and Dave can say, you know, yes, I think that'll work, or actually, no, they're going to be, you know, here and there. I've seen a rough cut. I know in this scene that they're going to get really tight on part of this, like a shelf with bait. And so I know that I have to sort of design that area with a little more detail. You know, you have to have a door to get in. You know, those are always on separate layers so that compositors can actually animate the door swinging open. Me and my oldest daughter, who's 11 now, but she was 3 at the time, painted these 9 sheets of glue line, just having a blast. And so those are textures like that you see in the yard. I use those textures a lot. There are textures in this that can only be gotten using brush and real paint.
They're such beautiful works of art in their own that it's a real problem when the viewer's eye is somehow drawn away from our characters and towards, like, say, a table that he created or a stove. You know, if anything, his backgrounds are so vibrant and incredible that they threaten to be foregrounds.
Squidbillies has a relatively small crew. I get a script and recorded voices for the show.
Each character is recorded separately, so you have a lot of maneuverability, and within that, you know, pick different takes from different reads. You can take half of a take from one read, half of another. You can sometimes create entirely new lines of dialogue if they throw in an ad-lib that you really like.
Brother Bubba's got some contradictory viewery about geopolitical Franks.
Sometimes they hand you a 13, 14-page script for an 11-minute show. The rules a minute a page, you know, you're going to be long. You agonize over the stuff you love that you have to cut.
I'm pretty much left to create the show in a timeline using my own judgment for timing, beats, pauses, music.
The idea is see what jokes are working, what stuff is really funny, and get all that sort of nailed down in the audio phase so that you don't waste a lot of time on the video.
Hey, Daddy. Granny said we don't play a game where we dye our hair and pretend our names are different.
And in traditional animation, yeah, they're drawing it new every single time. Whereas with our show,
Each character has a master animation file that we can pull from every time we need them to, you know, early to take out a shotgun.
backgrounds, character positioning, framings, blockings, things of that nature is all mapped out here, so that when we hand it off to the animators, then they can do what they can only do and that we can't.
And here we are at the gift shop, where just last week a postcard rack fell on a tourist.
I kind of like this joke. I'd like to at least try for it. I couldn't even make it out what the trucker hat said.
Even with the notes, we still have a level of creative freedom because a lot of the notes aren't, you know, do this, do this, do this. A lot of the notes are usually, this isn't quite working, take another strike at it without, you know, being told exactly what to do. So the freedom we get creatively is pretty consistent throughout the process.
I used a phrase from the SATs when I was 17, pencils down. I say it because we just reach a point where we're like, we have to put this on the air. And it just becomes a place where we can no longer mess with it and we just have to get it into production.
Once we get Squidbillies delivered to us from the edit, it's in an animatic form, which basically is an entire episode laid out with storyboard and movable storyboard.
Keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. Whoa, 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 whoa! What the hell? I said you was close, damn lead foot.
Traditionally, you would go through and you would actually hand draw and hand do every frame and shot of what you would want to do. But because this is sort of that sitcom idea that it's a locked camera and you're recycling that same stuff over and over. First, go through what we call a key pass, which is getting basic moves down and lip sync of the characters down. And then we go from there to sitting with the creators and going over notes.
What's Early doing right there? I think he should still be
Just
still
still
have both
waving
hands
back.
off, even as he touches it and the wheel's spinning. Yeah, he's just nodding and yeah.
We finish out the rest of the drawings for the in-between that need to be done. And then we begin the composite work, which is where we'll add smoke and fire and explosions and camera moves.
P-Pap Kyler takes an express train to the Big Dirt now, courtesy of the state of Georgia. Guess who's gonna win? The state of Georgia.
A lot of times when we sit with the creators of the show and go through reviews, they are very hands-on. They want to sit down and draw specifically what they're thinking for a shot. In this case, it's the truck, the semi-truck. There were so many different angles. It was inside the cab, at the front of the cab, driving at an angle, seeing the back side of it.
There's no CG in Squidbillies. Every time you see a vehicle a different way, a different angle, that's redrawn.
Damn, there's so much to change channels through the air. Woo!
Sometimes they have a very specific idea of what they want, and it's a matter of us to translate what the producers are looking for.
He's so compelled to watch it that he's like gradually sucked in, like as Dan Hanlon's yelling at him, he's like...
A lot of times Dave and Jim will come in and say, they'll have an idea of something, but they'll say, I'm not really sure what we want to happen, go wild.
Ain't nothing can stop us now. Except for this large wet area here.
Sometimes I get kind of like, but sometimes it's, most of the time it's really great for me because I get to sit back and, you know, and tell stories and make it look like I want.
Now what about Obama and his birth certificate? He was born in Hawaii. That ain't no goddamn state.
It's a really clever show, and I like how it takes something that is generational, but it's these hillbilly squids who are reenacting it, you know.
That can't be done.
That's right, Glenn. They say it can't be done.
Hell, ain't but one man I know that can pull that off. The Scrambler.
I think it's a lot easier for everyone down the line, from us hearing it here to when a band hears it, to have it sound like something. So I would sort of sit down and just play all the instruments and sing just a pass of something.
He's a France-bound clown with the hammer to the ground. He's doing something they said he could never do.
Yeah, we got the demo from Sean, which, you know, I wasn't sure how much I could add to it, but, you know, that gave us a real clear idea of what they were going for.
A lot of these songs had to have that kind of like lyric, rapid fire thing, which isn't necessarily, you know, what you would listen to if you pulled up your iPod. That's how you kind of have to get it sort of hybrid between what the band sounds like naturally and what would work in the show.
I don't know if they're on speed over there or what, but I'm gonna have to go sit in a closet and practice driving across them white sandy beaches, you know, getting all that in there because it's a mouthful.
France-bound clown with a hammer to the ground. He's doing something they said he could never do. Yes, he's a France-bound clown with a hammer on the ground. Look out, Frenchy scramblers coming through. He's got one hand on the throttle and another hand on the brake and another hand on the pills that help you stay awake. He's driving across them white sandy beaches where a truck ain't made to go. Watch that drunken pill freak scrambler go.
The whole thing's been pretty easy because the song that it's loosely based around is something that we are all familiar with and grew up playing, and so I just called my guitar player, Scott, and I called my old rhythm section here, Brad and Lisa, because I thought that was right up their alley. Hopefully it is close to what they're looking for.
Crystal harder than a $2 pistol.
For a while now, we've been doing new theme songs for every episode. We don't give them a ton of direction on what they do. We hire them because of who they are. We let them take a shot at the theme, and 99% of the time we get nothing to say about it except it's great.
I always loved the Jayhawks. They put their own spin on it. They added their own lyrics. Just in a couple of short hours, they came up with this song, Children of the Woods, which is just insane and beautiful, and it's just real honor to work with them. George Jones, I grew up listening to with my parents all the time.
Now we're all dead and buried.
That's great.
You know, I thought it's the same thing. It just gives me a little more to praise with.
That sounds nice.
We hired a Nashville producer, Dave Cobb, and this big band of young musicians and older session players from Nashville, like Hargus Pig Robbins, who played on the original White Lightning.
She run off, took her only chicken. When I broke Jerry, the house was burned. The Jap moved the plant back to old Sunky. Some days life just doesn't seem that fair. I don't care, don't give a
Jason Isbell, I was always a fan of Drive-By Truckers. Then I started following Jason on Twitter, who is a rabid Braves fan, as I am, so it just seemed like a natural fit. He just sort of added his own sort of Muscle Shoals sound to it.
My dreams are all dead and buried. Sometimes I wish the sun would just explode. When God comes and calls me to his kingdom, well, I'll take all you sons of bitches when I go.
We started this trend of just getting other musicians to not just doing the theme, but also as actors as well.
Get around the television, mother truckers, because it's Trucker Tuesday on the Nitwit Network.
Billy Joe Shaver.
perfect example. It just has a Texas accent that you really are not going to find out in Hollywood or on a voiceover reel.
Look at that, a monkey just punched that man. Look at that, a monkey just punched that man. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to step out of the car, sir. Looks to me like you got 130 pounds of dead hook. 40 some odd Mexican illegals, and 3 keys of pure China white.
Early thinks he's dying because he's been wearing hats made out of asbestos for the past 40 years. He tries to weasel his way in to meet some of his heroes, but the best they can come up with are the most famous people that I know.
Okay, big guy. This is Kevin Gillespie.
Hey there, buddy.
He was the fan favorite on Top Chef last season.
Are you ready for a new twist on a Southern classic?
I got skillet fried chicken with pickled watermelon and sweet tea jelly.
Look, Early, it's Grammy award-winning artist T-Pain.
Well, I know T-Pain.
T-Pain's a crazy big Adult Swim fan.
You got it?
Hey, what's going on? There you go, Hoss.
What is this?
Up there's a rap.
I like driving my truck. Auburn sucks. This doesn't even rhyme.
Yeah, you twiddle the knobs and let me know when it drops. What we do? I like driving in my truck.
He likes to drive in his truck.
Auburn sucks.
Auburn sucks.
I like driving in my truck.
He likes to drive in his truck.
Auburn sucks.
Auburn sucks.
What are we doing here today? Well, I'm going over the Squidbillies cartoon, voice check.
Jessica White, star of the original Dancing Outlaw.
That's right, honey, I'm looking at you.
Let's talk, more walk.
Let's talk, let's walk. Let's talk, more walk. Witchery, gumming up my lungs.
Just give me something to stick. Light it. Light it up.
There, that's better.
It sounds great. It sounds like a real character. Unfortunately, we killed the character in this episode, so the only way he's going to come back is as a zombie or an angel or a conscience or a flashback.
That's all you get for a quarter, it's all I got.